The ballroom falls silent. Every head turns toward the entrance. Marcus Hartwell's champagne glass freezes halfway to his lips. His hand starts to tremble. The woman walking through those doors wears a gown that seems woven from liquid gold and midnight, traditional Kent cloth reimagined as high fashion. Her natural hair rises in an elaborate crown adorned with cowrie shells that catch the light like stars. She moves like royalty. Marcus's new wife Vanessa leans close. Who is that? He can't answer. His throat has closed. Because he knows exactly who she is. The woman he spent 5 years trying to erase. The woman whose culture he mocked. The woman whose style he called embarrassing. The woman he destroyed. Amara Mensah locks eyes with him across the room. She smiles. And Marcus realizes with cold, creeping horror, this is his event. His building. His grand opening. So what is she doing here? The MC's voice booms through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our anchor investor and community development director. Marcus's blood turns to ice. Amara Mensah of Sankofa Developments. The room erupts in applause. Vanessa's confusion deepens. Wait. Mensah? Isn't that my ex-wife? Marcus whispers. But that's impossible. 5 years ago, she left with nothing. He made sure of it. Amara reaches the stage. Camera flashes explode around her like lightning. She takes the microphone with the confidence of someone who has absolutely nothing left to lose. Or everything to gain. Marcus's heart pounds against his ribs. This can't be happening. But it is. And he's about to find out exactly how much he underestimated her. 5 years earlier, the same woman sat in a lawyer's office signing divorce papers with shaking hands. Amara stared at the settlement offer. It was generous by most standards, $2 million, the house in the Hamptons, one of the cars. Marcus's attorney slid the papers across the mahogany table. Mrs. Hartwell, this is more than fair. Fair. The word tasted like acid. She picked up the pen. Marcus leaned back in his chair, already checking his phone. Already done with her. You're making the right choice, his attorney continued. Mr. Hartwell has been very generous considering. Considering what? Amara's voice cut through the room like a blade. The attorney shifted uncomfortably. Considering the lifestyle you've been accustomed to was entirely funded by. Say it. Amara looked directly at Marcus. Go ahead. Say what you've been thinking for 5 years. Marcus finally looked up from his phone. Bored. Dismissive. Amara, don't make this harder than it needs to be. You built nothing, she said quietly. You contributed nothing. You were just there. The words hung in the air like smoke. Amara's hand tightened on the pen. Her eyes burned, but no tears fell. She wouldn't give him that. I have a degree in architecture from Columbia, she said. I graduated top of my class. Marcus's attorney tried to interrupt. Mrs. Hartwell. I designed the community center in Brooklyn that won the Mayor's Innovation Award. Before I met you. Her voice remained steady. Surgical. I consulted on the Riverside development that's now worth $300 million. I did that work. My name isn't on it because you asked me not to complicate things. Marcus set his phone down. A flicker of something crossed his face, annoyance, maybe, that she was prolonging this. And you, Amara continued, spent 5 years telling me I was too much. Too ethnic. Too loud. Too African. She signed the papers with swift, decisive strokes. I'm taking your money, Marcus. All of it that I'm legally owed. And I'm going to do something you never could. She stood, gathering her things. I'm going to build something that actually matters. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. With $2 million? Good luck with that, Amara. Call me when you need a real job. She walked to the door. Stopped. turned back. "You're going to regret this conversation," she said. "Not today. Not tomorrow. But you will." The door closed behind her with a soft click. Marcus's attorney chuckled. Dramatic. Marcus was already back on his phone. "She'll be fine. Women like her always land on their feet." What he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Amara walked out of that building and straight into a future he couldn't imagine. And in 5 years, she would walk back into his life and shatter everything he thought he knew about power. But first, she had to lose everything. The apartment Amara found was a 6th-floor walk-up in a neighborhood Marcus would never visit. 800 square feet. Radiator that clanked like a dying animal. Water pressure that barely qualified as a drizzle. She stood in the empty living room, surrounded by cardboard boxes, and felt the full weight of her choices. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Baby, are you sure you don't want to come home? Your father and I have room." Amara typed back with numb fingers. "I need to do this myself, Mama." She set the phone down and caught her reflection in the window. The woman staring back looked like a stranger. During the marriage, she'd straightened her hair every week. Painful chemical relaxers that burned her scalp and made her eyes water. Marcus preferred it that way. More polished, he'd said. More professional. She'd stopped wearing the beaded jewelry her grandmother sent from Ghana. Marcus called them costume pieces. Not appropriate for his world. She'd packed away the traditional fabrics, the bright colors, the pieces of home that made her feel whole. And for what? To be tolerated? To be someone's accessory? Amara sank onto the floor, her back against the wall. The tears came then. Not gentle. Not quiet. They came like a storm, 5 years of swallowed words, dimmed light, and suffocated dreams pouring out all at once. She cried until her throat was raw. Until the windows darkened. Until she had nothing left. Then she stood up. Walked to the largest box. Opened it. Inside were her sketchbooks from Colombia. Dozens of them. Filled with designs Marcus had never seen, never asked about, never cared to know existed. She pulled one out. Flipped through pages of buildings that celebrated community, that honored culture, that elevated people instead of just housing them. Her fingers traced the drawings. These weren't just buildings. They were everything she believed in. Everything she'd abandoned to fit into Marcus's world. Everything she was about to reclaim. Amara grabbed her phone and searched for a name she hadn't thought about in years. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, her thesis advisor from Colombia. The phone rang 3 times. Amara Mensah. "I wondered when you'd call." Amara's breath caught. "Dr. Okonkwo. I don't know if you remember." "Remember? Girl, you were my best student in 20 years. I've been waiting for you to stop wasting your brilliance." The words hit like oxygen after drowning. "I left my husband," Amara said. "Good. Just that. No questions. No judgment. I want to build something," Amara continued. "Something real. But I don't know where to start." "Yes, you do," Dr. Okonkwo said. "You've always known. You just forgot for a while." Amara looked at her sketchbook spread across the floor. "I want to create affordable housing that doesn't strip people of their dignity," she said. "Architecture that celebrates who they are instead of asking them to disappear. Then do it. I don't have connections anymore." Marcus Hartwell is a mediocre developer who got rich off his father's money and other people's work, Dr. Okonkwo said flatly. "You don't need him. You never did. But tomorrow, 9 a.m. My office. We're going to rebuild your portfolio, and then I'm introducing you to some people." Amara's heart hammered. "Dr. Okonkwo, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm telling. 9 a.m., Amara. Don't be late." The line went dead. Amara sat in the silence of her tiny apartment. For the first time in 5 years, something flickered in her chest. Not quite hope. Not yet. But close. She pulled out a fresh sketchbook, opened to the first blank page, and began to draw. 6 months later, Amara sat across from her fifth rejected loan officer. The man, another man, always men, slid her proposal back across the desk without even opening it. Ms. Mensah, I appreciate your passion, but banks don't fund social experiments. Amara kept her voice level. Professional. This isn't an experiment. It's a proven model. Mixed income housing with cultural centers has shown. In other markets, perhaps. He stood, signaling the meeting was over. But your target demographic doesn't align with our risk assessment. Target demographic. Code word she'd heard a dozen times now. You mean black and brown communities, Amara said. The loan officer's smile tightened. I mean high-risk markets. I'm sure you understand. She gathered her materials with practiced calm. Didn't let him see her hands shake. Outside the bank, the spring sun felt cruel. Mocking. Her phone rang. Dr. Okonkwo. How'd it go? Same as the others, Amara said. They won't even look at the numbers. Then we go to Plan B. What's Plan B? There's a community forum tonight in Bed-Stuy. Come with me. Dr. Okonkwo, I don't think another meeting. Trust me. That night, Amara found herself in a church basement that smelled like coffee and hope. 70 people packed into folding chairs. Community leaders. Local business owners. Mothers with children asleep in their laps. Elderly folks who remembered when the neighborhood was different. A woman at the front spoke with quiet fury. They want to tear down our community center. Replace it with luxury condos we can't afford. They're erasing us. Heads nodded around the room. They call it development, another voice added. But what they mean is displacement. Amara felt something crack open in her chest. This was the conversation Marcus never wanted to have. The reality he built his fortune ignoring. Dr. Okonkwo leaned close. These are your people, Amara. Not those bankers. These are the folks who need what you can build. After the formal presentations ended, people milled around drinking bitter coffee and speaking in tight clusters. A man approached, tall, silver-haired, expensive suit that somehow didn't look out of place. You're Amara Mensah, he said. She tensed. Do I know you? No. But I know your work. He extended his hand. Jamal Bennett. I run an investment fund focused on economic development in underserved communities. Amara's pulse quickened. I've heard of you. I saw your presentation to the Brooklyn Planning Commission last month. The one they rejected. Heat flushed her cheeks. Word travels. They were idiots, Jamal said flatly. Your design was brilliant. They couldn't see past their own blind spots. Story of my life lately. Jamal pulled out a card. Have breakfast with me tomorrow. I want to talk about your vision. Amara took the card, barely daring to hope. Mr. Bennett, if this is a courtesy meeting. I don't do courtesy, he interrupted. I do business. And I think you might be exactly what I've been looking for. He walked away before she could respond. Dr. Okonkwo appeared at her elbow, smiling. Told you. The next morning, Amara sat across from Jamal in a quiet restaurant in Harlem. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts of her Columbia thesis. Her rejected proposals. Articles about Marcus's latest developments. You did your research, Amara said carefully. I always do. Jamal leaned back. Tell me something. Why affordable housing? You could design luxury condos. Make 10 times the money. Amara thought about her grandmother's village in Ghana. About the apartment building where she grew up in Newark. About all the places that shaped her that Marcus wanted her to forget. Because housing isn't just shelter, she said. It's dignity. It's identity. It's the foundation of everything else: education, health, economic opportunity. And right now, development treats black and brown communities like problems to be solved instead of people to be served. Keep going. Every building tells a story about who matters, Amara continued, passion rising in her voice. Marcus, my ex-husband, builds monuments to wealth. Glass towers that look the same in every city. Luxury that isolates instead of connects. He calls it sophistication. I call it erasure. Jamal smiled. What would you call what you want to build? Legacy. The word hung between them. Jamal opened another folder. I have access to $50 million in investment capital. I can get you land, permits, construction crews. What I need is someone with vision who actually gives a damn. Amara's heart stopped. 50 million? To start. If the first project succeeds, there's more where that came from. Why me? Because you've been knocked down and you're still fighting, Jamal said. Because you understand what these communities need. And because he pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. A young Jamal stood next to an older woman in front of a small house. That's my mother, he said. We lived in public housing in Detroit. Roaches. Broken elevators. Heat that worked maybe half the time. She worked 3 jobs to get me out. He put the phone away. She died before I made my first million. I told myself I'd use this money to build the kind of places she deserved to live in. So no, Amara. The question isn't why you. The question is, are you ready to do this? Amara thought about the divorce papers. The tiny apartment. The rejection letters stacked on her kitchen counter. She thought about Marcus's laugh when she said she'd build something that mattered. When do we start? Jamal grinned. We already have. 2 years later, Amara stood on a construction site in Crown Heights, mud on her boots, hard hat over her head wrap. The building rising behind her was nearly complete. 8 stories of affordable housing. Community center on the ground floor. Rooftop garden designed by local students. Facade that incorporated traditional West African geometric patterns in modern materials. It was beautiful. It was functional. It was everything she dreamed. A news crew approached, reporter with a cameraman in tow. Ms. Mensah, your buildings are generating a lot of attention. Some critics say you're being too specific in your cultural references. That architecture should be universal. Amara had heard this criticism before. Usually from people who looked like Marcus. Universal usually means bland, she said. It means pretending culture doesn't exist. These buildings aren't for everyone. They're for the people who live here. The people whose grandparents came from places where architecture meant something. Where buildings told stories. But doesn't that risk limiting your market? My market, Amara said, is the people who've been told their whole lives that they need to assimilate to succeed. That they need to straighten their hair, change their names, hide who they are. These buildings say, you don't have to disappear to matter. The interview aired that night. By morning, it had gone viral. Her phone exploded with calls. More investors. More community leaders. Magazine profiles. Speaking invitations. And one text from an unknown number. Impressive building. Looks like you didn't need that real job after all. M. Marcus. Amara stared at the message for a long time. Then deleted it without responding. He didn't deserve her words. Not anymore. 3 years after the divorce, Amara's company Sankofa Developments had completed 4 major projects. Waiting lists for her buildings stretched months long. Other developers started copying her approach, though they never quite captured what made her work special. She won the National Housing Innovation Award. Forbes featured her in their 30 Under 40 issue. Architectural Digest did a spread on her designs. And Marcus watched it all from a distance, his stomach churning with something he refused to name. His latest development, a glass tower in downtown Brooklyn, was 40% empty 6 months after opening. Too expensive. Too sterile. Too much like everything else. The reviews called it uninspired. Marcus threw the magazine across his office. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, champagne in hand even though it was 2 p.m. "We still going to the Hamptons this weekend?" she asked. Marcus looked at her. Really looked. She was beautiful, objectively, empirically beautiful. Blonde hair that cost $800 every 6 weeks. Body maintained by personal trainers and surgeons. Wardrobe that cost more than most people's cars. And she was boring. Every conversation was surface. Every opinion borrowed from whatever influencers she followed. Every outfit chosen to photograph well, not to mean anything. She was exactly what he thought he wanted. Marcus? The Hamptons? Yeah. Sure. She left, satisfied. Marcus pulled up his laptop. Searched Amara's name. Pages of results flooded the screen. Articles. Interviews. Photos of her at galas and groundbreakings, wearing bold prints and natural hair styled in elaborate crowns. Looking like herself. Looking radiant. Looking free. In one photo, she stood with Jamal Bennett at a ribbon cutting. They were laughing about something, caught mid-moment, genuine joy on both faces. Marcus's chest tightened. That's when his phone rang. His development partner, Richard Chen. "Marcus, we have a problem with the downtown project." "What problem?" "The city's pushing back on our permits. They want us to include affordable housing units. A whole section, 15% of the building." Marcus rubbed his temples. "That'll kill our margins." "I know. But there's a potential solution. We bring in a partner to handle that component. Someone who specializes in affordable housing." "Who?" "Sankofa Developments." The name hit Marcus like cold water. "Absolutely not." "Marcus, listen. Amara Mensah is the best in this space. Her buildings are profitable, her tenants stay, and the city loves her. If we partner with her, we get our permits and we get good press. Win-win. Find someone else." "There is no one else. Not with her track record. This project is already over budget and behind schedule. We need this permit, and she's our best shot." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Set up a meeting." "Already done. Next week." The line went dead. Marcus sat in his office, looking at Amara's photo on his screen. In 5 years, she'd built an empire. And now she was about to walk back into his life. Whether he liked it or not. The meeting took place in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Marcus arrived early. Positioned himself at the head of the table. Power move. Richard and the other partners filed in. Then Amara. She wore a tailored blazer with traditional Ghanaian Kent trim. Natural hair and a high puff. Gold hoops that caught the light. She looked incredible. Marcus stood, professional mask in place. "Amara. Thank you for coming." She shook his hand briefly. Businesslike. "Marcus." No warmth. No anger. Just blank professionalism. Somehow that was worse. They sat. Richard launched into the presentation. Marcus barely heard it. He kept stealing glances at Amara. She took notes. Asked sharp questions. Suggested modifications to the design that made immediate sense. She was commanding the room. His room. "So, Ms. Mensah," one of the partners asked, "what would your vision be for the affordable component?" Amara pulled out her tablet. Projected designs onto the screen. Ground floor through 15, 120 units of mixed-income housing. Studios through 3 bedrooms. Community center here with childcare, job training, and health services. Rooftop garden maintained by residents. Local artist murals throughout. The designs were stunning. Modern but warm. Functional but beautiful. Everything Marcus's buildings weren't. And the aesthetic? Richard asked. Celebration, not assimilation, Amara said. These residents are primarily black and Latino. The design should honor that. West African patterns here. Caribbean influences there. It's housing that says, you belong. Marcus heard his own voice. Years ago, you look like you're going to a tribal ceremony, not a sophisticated event. Shame twisted in his gut. The city will love this, Richard said excitedly. When can we move forward? Amara looked directly at Marcus. I need to know this is a real partnership. Not just checking a box. Of course it's real, Marcus said. Then I need full creative control over the affordable section. No compromises. No suggestions that water down the vision. Richard jumped in. Absolutely. You'd have complete autonomy on. I'm asking Marcus, Amara said. The room fell silent. Marcus met her gaze. Saw the challenge there. The test. Could he let her be herself in his building? Could he share space with someone who refused to dim their light? You'd have full control, he said. In writing. In writing. Amara stood. Extended her hand. Then we have a deal. They shook. And Marcus realized he just invited his biggest mistake back into his life. The partnership should have been simple. It wasn't. Every meeting became a reminder of everything Marcus had thrown away. Amara was brilliant. Creative. Bold. The team loved her. The city loved her. Even his own partners started asking for her input on aspects of the building outside her section. And she was happy. That was the part that gutted him. She smiled during presentations. Laughed with contractors. Showed up to site visits in clothes that celebrated who she was without apology. Meanwhile, Vanessa grew more distant. More hollow. One night, Marcus came home to find her sitting in the dark, empty wine bottle on the table. I'm leaving, she said. He wasn't even surprised. Vanessa. Don't. I'm not stupid, Marcus. I know what I am to you. A pretty thing to show off. Like one of your buildings, nice to look at, empty inside. The words stung because they were true. I spent today watching you watch her, Vanessa continued. The way you used to look at me. Except you never really looked at me. You just liked what I represented. She stood, grabbed her bag. For what it's worth, I hope you figure out whatever it is you're trying to prove. But do it without me. The door closed. Marcus sat alone in a penthouse filled with expensive, meaningless things. And thought about Amara. 6 months into the partnership, Marcus did something he'd never done. He showed up to one of Amara's community meetings. She was presenting updates to future residents. Families who'd been on waiting lists for months. People who'd never imagined living in a new building downtown. This is your home, Amara told them. We want your input. What do you need? What matters to you? An elderly woman raised her hand. Will there be somewhere for us to gather? My old building had a courtyard. We used to sit outside, watch the children play. 3rd floor, Amara said, pulling up designs. Communal space with indoor and outdoor areas. We're also including a garden where residents can grow vegetables if they want. A young mother spoke up. What about childcare? I work 2 jobs. Ground floor. Subsidized by the building. Open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And if we can't afford. Sliding scale, Amara said gently. No one gets turned away. Marcus watched from the back of the room. This was what he never understood. What he never tried to understand. Amara wasn't just building structures. She was building community. Dignity. Hope. After the meeting, he approached her. That was impressive. She packed up her materials. Didn't look at him. Was there something you needed, Marcus? Can we talk? We talk at partner meetings. Not about the building. About us. Now she looked at him. Her expression unreadable. There is no us. Amara. Marcus, I don't know what you want from me. An absolution? Forgiveness? Proof that you're not the man I know you are? Her voice was calm. Almost gentle. Which made it cut deeper. I want to apologize, he said. Okay. She waited. Marcus fumbled for words. I was wrong. About everything. The way I treated you. The things I said about your culture, your style. I was intimidated by you and I didn't know how to handle it, so I tried to make you smaller. I know. And I'm sorry. Amara steadied him for a long moment. You hurt me, Marcus. Deeply. You made me question my worth. You made me hide who I was. It took me years to undo that damage. I know. And if I could go back. But you can't. She picked up her bag. Here's the thing. I don't hate you. I don't even think about you most days. I've built a life I'm proud of. I'm surrounded by people who celebrate me, not tolerate me. And you're just someone I used to know. The words hit harder than any anger would have. I'm different now, Marcus said. Maybe. But that's not my problem anymore. She walked toward the door. Stopped. Turned back. For what it's worth, this building we're creating together. It's good work. Maybe the best thing you'll ever be part of. But that's because you got out of the way and let someone else shine. I can do better. Then do better. Just not with me. She left. Marcus stood alone in the empty community center, surrounded by design boards showing a future he helped create but would never truly understand. The grand opening arrived on a crisp October evening. Hartwell Tower, Marcus's name on the building, but Amara's vision throughout the bottom 15 floors. Press everywhere. Politicians. Celebrities. Investors. Marcus stood at the entrance in his tuxedo, Vanessa's replacement on his arm, a woman whose name he honestly couldn't remember. Lights blazed. Cameras flashed. This should have been his moment of triumph. Instead, he felt hollow. The plan was simple. He'd give the opening remarks, they'd cut the ribbon, celebrate the partnerships. Standard procedure. But then his assistant rushed over, face flushed. Sir, there's been a change. What change? Ms. Mensah just arrived. The press are going crazy. And the MC wants to announce her as the anchor investor first. Marcus's blood went cold. What do you mean, anchor investor? His assistant looked confused. She owns 30% of the building, sir. I thought you knew. The world tilted. What? The partnership agreement. She negotiated equity, not just development fees. It's all in the contracts. Marcus had never read those contracts. He'd let Richard handle it. How much equity? 30%. Second largest shareholder after you. His mind raced. Amara didn't just partner on this building. She owned a piece of it. A massive piece. Which meant... Oh God, he whispered. His assistant looked alarmed. Sir? The entrance erupted in commotion. Photographers surged forward. And through the doors walked Amara. She wore a gown that defied description, modern cut with traditional Kent woven throughout. Gold and deep purple. Her natural hair rose in an elaborate crown with cowrie shells that glittered like stars. She looked like royalty. She looked like everything he tried to dim. She looked free. The crowd parted. People stared. Marcus's date whispered, "Who is that?" He couldn't answer. Because Amara was walking straight toward the stage. And his world was about to change forever. The MC's voice boomed through the sound system. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our official program, we have a very special announcement. Marcus wanted to run. To hide. To rewind time and make different choices. But he was frozen at the front of the room, cameras on him, watching. This building represents a new model of development. One that honors profit and people. Luxury and community. Amara reached the stage stairs. Began to climb. Our anchor investor and community development director is someone who's revolutionizing urban housing. Someone who's proven that doing good and doing well aren't mutually exclusive. She reached the top. Stood in the spotlight. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. Please welcome Amara Mensah of Sankofa Developments. The applause was thunderous. Amara took the microphone with practiced ease. Smiled at the crowd. Then her eyes found Marcus. And held. Thank you all for being here tonight, she began. This building represents something I never thought possible 5 years ago. Marcus's throat closed. Partnership between different visions. Different values. Different ideas about what success means. She gestured to the building behind them. The top floors are luxury condos that will generate significant profit. But the bottom 15 floors, my section, will house 120 families who couldn't otherwise afford to live in this neighborhood. Families who work in this city, who contribute to this city, who deserve to be part of this city's future. More applause. Some people believe affordable housing means inferior housing. That celebrating culture means limiting market appeal. That you can't be both profitable and principled. She paused. I'm here to prove them wrong. The crowd cheered. Marcus felt dizzy. This building works because someone was willing to share power. To share equity. To share vision. She looked directly at him. Marcus Hartwell could have kept complete control. Instead, he chose partnership. And that choice, that willingness to share space, is what makes this building special. It was generous. More generous than he deserved. And it shattered something in him. Because she was giving him credit he hadn't earned. Grace he didn't deserve. She was being the bigger person. Again. So thank you, Marcus, Amara said. For taking a chance on a different kind of development. A different kind of future. The applause rang out. Amara extended her hand to him. Inviting him to the stage. Marcus climbed the stairs on shaking legs. They stood side by side, facing the crowd. The photographer shouted, "Look this way." Flashes exploded. Tomorrow, this photo would be everywhere. The divorced couple reunited for a revolutionary building. The story would write itself. But right now, Marcus leaned close and whispered, "You didn't have to do that. Give me credit." Amara kept her smile fixed for the cameras. I know. Then why? Because I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for everyone watching who needs to see that you can succeed without becoming cruel. You can win without destroying someone else. She turned to him, still smiling for the cameras. You took 5 years of my life, Marcus. Years where I thought I had to be someone else to matter. But I got them back. I rebuilt. And now I'm standing in a building with my name on it, wearing my culture with pride, and you can't say a damn thing about it. Her smile never wavered. So no, this isn't forgiveness. This is me showing everyone watching that you don't get to define me anymore. You never did. She turned back to the crowd, raised her hand in a wave. And Marcus realized this wasn't her revenge. This was her triumph. And he was just a footnote in it. After the ribbon cutting, after the speeches and champagne and endless photos, the event moved to the rooftop terrace. Marcus tried to work the room, but everyone wanted to talk to Amara. Investors asking about her next projects. Politicians praising her vision. Young architects asking for advice. She held court effortlessly. And Marcus stood at the edge, watching. His date had disappeared hours ago. He didn't blame her. quite a night. Marcus turned. Jamal Bennett stood beside him, holding 2 glasses of whiskey. He offered one to Marcus. I don't think we've officially met, Jamal said. Jamal Bennett. I fund most of Amara's projects. Marcus took the glass. Marcus Hartwell. I know who you are. They drank in silence, watching Amara laugh with a group of community leaders. She's remarkable, Jamal said. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you spent 5 years trying to convince her she wasn't. Marcus's jaw tightened. I made mistakes. Mistakes? Jamal's laugh was cold. Man, you tried to erase her. There's a difference. He gestured toward Amara with his glass. You know what she told me when we first met? She said she wasn't sure if she was still the woman who got into Columbia. Wasn't sure if that person still existed. The words landed like punches. You did that, Jamal continued. You took someone brilliant and made her question her own mind. Someone beautiful and made her question her own reflection. Marcus wanted to argue. To defend himself. But what defense was there? She rebuilt herself from nothing, Jamal said. Worked 80-hour weeks. Faced rejection after rejection. And every single time someone told her no, she got back up. You know why? Marcus stayed silent. Because she had something you'll never understand. Purpose bigger than ego. Vision bigger than profit. She wasn't trying to prove you wrong. She was trying to prove herself right. Jamal finished his whiskey. So yeah, it's quite a night. You get to stand in a building that exists despite you, not because of you. Must be a strange feeling. He walked away. Marcus stood alone at the edge of the party, watching Amara shine in a world she built without him. The crowd began to thin as midnight approached. Marcus saw Amara step away from the main group, heading toward the quieter side of the terrace. He followed. She stood at the railing, looking out over the city. Her crown of cowrie shells caught the moonlight. Beautiful view, Marcus said. Amara didn't turn. It is. Silence stretched between them. Comfortable for her. Agonizing for him. I need to say something, Marcus began. You already apologized. Not like this. Now she turned. Waited. Marcus struggled to find words adequate to the moment. When I met you, you were the most alive person I'd ever known. You had this light. This certainty about who you were. And instead of loving that, I was threatened by it. Amara's expression remained neutral. I spent our entire marriage trying to make you smaller because I was terrified of how big you could be. Because if you were that bright, what did that make me? Marcus. Let me finish. Please. She nodded. I told myself I was helping you. Making you more professional. More sophisticated. But I was really just scared that if you were fully yourself, you wouldn't need me anymore. His voice cracked. And I was right. You didn't need me. You never did. But instead of being amazed by that, I punished you for it. Amara looked back at the city. I know, she said softly. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I couldn't handle not being the center of it. I know that too. Marcus moved closer. Not touching. Just near. How do you do it? He asked. Stand here, be kind to me, when I was so cruel to you. Amara was quiet for a long moment. You want to know the truth? Please. You're not important enough to hate anymore. The words were gentle. Almost sad. For a long time, you were this giant thing in my head. This voice telling me I wasn't enough. That I needed to change. To shrink. To disappear. She turned to face him fully. But therapy taught me something. That voice was never really yours. It was mine. I gave you that power. I chose to believe your version of me instead of my own. Tears gathered in her eyes but didn't fall. So I had to rebuild my relationship with myself. Learn to trust my own voice again. And once I did that, your opinion just stopped mattering. Marcus felt something inside him shatter. I'm not standing here being kind to you, Marcus. I'm standing here being free. And you just happen to be nearby. She wiped her eyes. Smiled. I spent 5 years angry. Then 2 years healing. And now? I'm just grateful. For what? For learning the lesson. For knowing I'll never dim my light for anyone again. For building something I'm proud of with people who celebrate me. She looked at the building behind them. This isn't about you. It's about those 120 families moving in next month. The kids who'll play in that rooftop garden. The grandmother who'll grow tomatoes like she did in Jamaica. The single mother who'll have childcare so she can take night classes. Her voice grew stronger. That's what matters. Not your regret. Not your realization. Not your late-night epiphany that you threw away something precious. She picked up her clutch from the railing. I hope you find whatever it is you're searching for, Marcus. I really do. But you won't find it in my forgiveness. You'll only find it when you figure out who you are when no one's watching. She started to walk away. Marcus called after her. Amara? She paused. Didn't turn. You look beautiful tonight. You always did. I was just too blind to see it. I know, she said. That was always your problem, not mine. She walked back into the party. And Marcus stood alone on the terrace, surrounded by the city lights, finally understanding everything he'd lost. The party ended near 2 a.m. Marcus watched from a distance as Amara left, surrounded by her team, laughing at something Jamal said. She never looked back. He went home to his penthouse. Poured himself another drink. Sat in the dark. His phone buzzed. A text from Richard. Amazing event. Press is eating it up. Amara's a genius. We should partner with her on the next 3 projects. Marcus typed back, agreed. He pulled up his laptop. Searched his own name. The headlines from tonight were already posting. Billionaire and ex-wife team up for revolutionary housing model. Amara Mensah proves affordable can be beautiful. Hartwell Tower, when ego meets empowerment. That last headline stung. He clicked on the article. The writer had done their research. 5 years ago, Marcus Hartwell divorced architect Amara Mensah in a quiet settlement that barely made news. Tonight, she returned to his world as a powerhouse developer with a vision that's reshaping urban housing. The question is, did Marcus Hartwell change, or did Amara Mensah simply outgrow him? Marcus closed the laptop. Walked to his closet. In the back, in a box he'd never unpacked, were photos from their marriage. He pulled one out. Amara on their honeymoon in Santorini. She wore a simple white dress and had brought a colorful wrap from Ghana. He'd asked her not to wear it to dinner. Too casual, he'd said. In the photo, she wore the plain white dress. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. He looked at that photo for a long time. Then he did something he'd never done. He called his therapist. Dr. Morrison? I know it's late. But I need to schedule sessions. Regular ones. I need to figure some things out. 6 months passed. Hartwell Tower's affordable housing section had a 100% occupancy rate with a waiting list of 300 families. The luxury condos above? 65% occupied. Improving, but slow. The story wrote itself in the real estate sections. Marcus attended the required partnership meetings. Watched Amara present plans for their next collaboration. He kept his mouth shut. Took notes. Approved her budgets without argument. She was professional. Cordial. Distant. Exactly as she should be. One evening, Marcus drove past one of Amara's solo projects in Harlem. A community center she designed. All curves and color. Murals by local artists covering the walls. He parked. Walked inside. A teen stepped forward. "Can I help you?" "I'm just looking." The kid shrugged. "Cool. We got basketball in the gym. Art class in the back. Computer lab upstairs. This is all free?" "Yep. Ms. Mensah set it up. She comes by every Thursday." Marcus walked through the space. It was alive. Vibrant. Full. Everything his buildings weren't. He found a wall covered in thank you notes from kids. "Ms. Mensah, thank you for believing in us. This place saved my life. I got accepted to college because of the SAT prep here." One note caught his eye. Written in child's handwriting. "Ms. Mensah is a queen. She wears her crown and teaches us to wear ours too." Marcus stood in front of that wall for 20 minutes. Then he left. 1 year after the grand opening, Marcus sat in Dr. Morrison's office. "I've been thinking about legacy," he said. "Go on. My father built buildings to make money. I built buildings to prove I was better than him. But Amara, she builds for something bigger. Does that bother you?" Marcus thought about it. Really thought. "It used to. Now it just makes me sad." "Why sad?" "Because I spent 45 years of my life missing the point." Dr. Morrison leaned forward. "What is the point, Marcus?" "That the buildings don't matter. The people do." "And what are you going to do with that realization?" Marcus pulled out a folder. Set it on the table. "I'm restructuring my company. 40% of all new developments will be affordable housing. Partnered with local organizations. Designed with community input. That's significant. It's not enough. But it's something." "What prompted this?" Marcus was quiet. "I can't undo the past. I can't give Amara back the years I took. But I can stop taking years from other people." "Have you told her about this?" "No." "Why not?" "Because it's not for her. It's for me. And she deserves to live her life without being responsible for my growth." Dr. Morrison smiled. "That's progress, Marcus." "Is it?" "Because it feels like I'm just finally becoming the person I should have been all along. Better late than never. Unless you're the person who had to suffer while you figured it out." Marcus stood. Gathered his things. "Same time next week?" "Same time." 2 years after the grand opening, Amara stood in her office reviewing plans for a development in Detroit. Her assistant knocked. "Someone's here to see you." "Who?" "Marcus Hartwell. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important." Amara's stomach tightened. They hadn't spoken directly in over a year. "Give me 5 minutes. Then send him in." She used those 5 minutes to center herself. Breathe. Remember who she was. Marcus entered looking different. Thinner. Tired. But something else too. Humbler. "Thank you for seeing me," he said. "You have 10 minutes. He sat. Pulled out a folder. "I'm restructuring Hartwell Developments. Making affordable housing a core part of every project. I wanted you to know." Amara took the folder. Skimmed it. The plans were solid. Genuine. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you'll hear about it eventually. I didn't want you to think I was copying you or trying to compete." "Okay. And because I wanted to ask if you'd consult. Not partner. Just advise. Help me not screw this up." Amara set the folder down. "Marcus, I have 6 projects of my own. I'm raising capital for 3 more. I'm training the next generation of developers through my mentorship program. I'm working with cities across the country to change housing policy." "I know. So why would I take time away from that to help you?" Marcus nodded. "You wouldn't. You shouldn't. I just had to ask. He stood to leave. But for what it's worth, he said at the door, thank you. For what? For showing me what I was too stupid to see. That doing good and doing well aren't mutually exclusive. That success without purpose is just expensive emptiness. He opened the door. And for being exactly who you are, even when I tried to convince you to be someone else. The world needs more people like you. He left. Amara sat at her desk, staring at the folder. Her assistant appeared. You okay? Yeah. I'm good. What are you going to do? Amara thought about it. Then smiled. Exactly what I've always done. My work. My way. She dropped the folder in recycling. And got back to changing the world. 5 years after the divorce, Amara flew to Ghana for her grandmother's 90th birthday. The village had grown. New school building. Medical clinic. Community center. All designed by Amara. All funded by her profits. She stood with her grandmother on the porch, watching children play. You've done well, child, her grandmother said in Twi. I learned from the best. Your grandfather would be proud. Building things that last. That matter. Amara leaned her head on her grandmother's shoulder. I almost lost myself, Nana. I almost forgot who I was. But you didn't. You found your way home. It took a long time. The best journeys do. They sat in comfortable silence. That man, her grandmother said. The one who hurt you. Has he found his way? Amara thought about Marcus. His therapy. His restructured company. His clumsy attempts at redemption. Maybe. I don't know. It's not my job to know anymore. Good. Your job is to build. To create. To shine. I'm trying, Nana. You're doing more than trying. You're succeeding. That night, Amara video called Jamal. How's Ghana? He asked. Perfect. I'm thinking about opening an office here. Really? There's so much potential. So much need. And I want to give back to the place that made me. I love it. Send me a proposal. They talked business for an hour. Then personal life. Then dreams. After they hung up, Amara stood on the porch under the stars. She wore traditional cloth. Natural hair in twists. Bare feet on warm wood. She was completely herself. And she was home. Her phone buzzed. An email. From Marcus. The subject line, thought you should see this. She almost deleted it. But curiosity won. The email contained a single link. To a news article. Hartwell Developments commits $500 million to affordable housing initiative. She read the article. Marcus had partnered with nonprofits. Hired diverse teams. Implemented community-first design principles. At the bottom, a quote from him. I spent my career building monuments to ego. I'm spending the rest of it trying to build something that actually matters. I was taught this lesson by someone I hurt deeply. I can't undo that harm. But I can honor the lesson. Amara closed her phone. Looked up at the stars. And smiled. Not because Marcus changed. Not because he finally understood. But because she had become someone who no longer needed him to. The next morning, she sat with her grandmother drinking tea. I've been thinking, Amara said, about starting a foundation. Training young architects from underserved communities. Like you were. Exactly like I was. So they don't have to lose themselves to succeed. Her grandmother squeezed her hand. Your grandfather built one school. You're building a movement. It's not enough. It never is. But it's beautiful. Amara pulled out her sketchbook. Started drawing. A new building. Bold. unapologetic, alive. She sketched for hours, lost in the work, the purpose, the joy. When she finally looked up, the sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and purple. The same colors as her gown at the grand opening. The same colors as her truth. 1 year later, Amara received an award from the National Association of Housing Developers. She stood on stage in front of 2,000 people, wore a custom gown with Adinkra symbols embroidered in gold thread. Each symbol told a story. Sankofa, return and get it. Strength, wisdom, community. Her acceptance speech was brief. I almost gave up on myself once. Someone I trusted told me I was too much. Too different. Too me. The audience was silent. And I believed him. I spent years trying to be smaller, quieter, more acceptable. She paused. Until I realized that my difference wasn't a flaw. It was my power. Applause began to build. This award isn't just for me. It's for every person who's been told they need to change to succeed. Every woman who's been asked to straighten her hair for a job interview. Every immigrant who's been told their accent is unprofessional. Every person who's been made to feel that their culture is something to hide. She held up the award. You don't have to dim your light for anyone. You don't have to disappear to matter. You don't have to choose between success and authenticity. The audience rose to their feet. Build boldly. Dream loudly. Shine unapologetically. The applause was deafening. And when someone tries to make you smaller, remember, you are not too much. They're just not enough. She left the stage to a standing ovation. In the audience, near the back, Marcus Hartwell stood and clapped. She never saw him. But he saw her. And understood, finally and completely, what he'd lost. Not a wife. Not a partner. But the chance to witness greatness up close. The chance to grow alongside someone extraordinary. The chance to be better because she was near. He'd thrown that away. And no amount of changed business practices or restructured companies or late-night realizations would ever give it back. After the ceremony, reporters surrounded Amara. Ms. Mensah, your speech was incredible. Can you talk about what inspired it? Amara smiled. Personal experience. Sometimes the best lessons come from the hardest moments. There are rumors that you're working on a memoir. Is that true? I am. It's about reclaiming yourself after losing your way. What's the title? Amara thought about the question she'd asked herself years ago in that tiny apartment. Who was she without Marcus's approval? Without his world? Without his validation? It's called Unbroken Crown, she said. Because some things can be taken from you, money, marriage, security. But your worth? That's yours. Always. The interviews continued for an hour. Finally, she escaped to her hotel room. Kicked off her heels. Called her mother. I saw the speech online, her mother said, crying. Baby, I'm so proud. Thanks, Mama. Your father's here. He wants to talk to you. Her father's deep voice came on the line. Amara girl. You hear me? I hear you, Daddy. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Exactly who you're supposed to be. Tears spilled down Amara's cheeks. I didn't know if I'd ever feel whole again, she whispered. But you did. You found your way. Yeah. I did. After they hung up, Amara stood at the window looking out over the city. Her phone buzzed with texts. Congratulations from colleagues. Job offers. Speaking invitations. One text stood out. From Jamal, that speech. Damn. You're changing lives, Amara. She typed back, just trying to be the person I needed when I was lost. His response, you're succeeding. Coffee tomorrow? Want to talk about the Detroit expansion. It's a date. Not a date. They kept things professional. Friendly. But lately, there'd been something else. Something neither of them had named. A possibility. A maybe. But Amara wasn't rushing. Wasn't seeking. Wasn't trying to fill any emptiness. Because there was no emptiness. She was whole. Complete. Sufficient. If love came, wonderful. If it didn't, she was still rich beyond measure. She had work she loved. Community she served. Purpose that fulfilled her. And most importantly, she had herself. The final scene. 3 years later, Amara stood on a construction site in Accra, Ghana. Her largest project yet. 500 units of affordable housing. School. Medical center. Markets for local businesses. A whole community rising from red earth. She wore work boots and a hard hat over her head wrap. Dust covered her clothes. She'd never been happier. Her phone rang. Jamal. They'd been together for 2 years now. He understood her work. Her calling. Her need to build. How's Ghana? He asked. Incredible. You should see this place, Jay. It's going to change everything. I don't doubt it. Listen, I'm at the office. Package came for you. What kind of package? Heavy. From Marcus Hartwell. Amara's stomach tightened. What? Should I open it? Yeah. Tell me what's inside. She heard rustling. Jamal's sharp intake of breath. It's a donation. A big one. To your foundation. 4 scholarships. There's a note. Read it. I can't undo the past. But I can help build the future. This donation is anonymous. Use it however you see fit. No strings. No credit. Just because the work matters. And because you matter. Always did. I was just too broken to see it. Silence on the line. Amara? She wiped her eyes. Smiled. Send him a standard thank you letter. Foundation letterhead. Professional. That's it? That's it. Because Marcus's growth wasn't her responsibility. His redemption wasn't her story. Her story was this: she fell. She rose. She built. And she kept building. I love you, Jamal said softly. I love you too. When are you coming home? 2 more weeks. Then I'm all yours. I'll be waiting. They hung up. Amara looked at the construction site. Workers moving like ants. Cranes lifting steel. Foundation taking shape. In 5 years, families would live here. Children would play. Elders would gather and tell stories. Lives would unfold in spaces she created. That was legacy. That was success. That was everything. Her foreman called out in Twi. Ms. Mensah. Come see this. She walked toward the sound of hammers and hope. Toward the future she was building. 1 brick. 1 beam. 1 bold choice at a time. And somewhere, thousands of miles away, Marcus Hartwell sat in his office looking at a photo from 5 years ago. The grand opening. Amara in her gown. Light catching her crown. He kept that photo on his desk now. Not as a reminder of what he lost, but as a reminder of what's possible when you let people shine. He'd built 3 affordable housing projects since then. Community centers in 2 cities. Scholarship programs at HBCUs. It didn't erase his mistakes. But it meant something. Maybe not to Amara, but to the families in those buildings. The students with those scholarships. To them, it meant everything. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was how you lived with regret. You didn't erase it. You outgrew it. 1 good choice at a time. The screen fades to black. Text appears. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming so brilliantly, unapologetically yourself that the person who tried to dim you becomes irrelevant. This is dedicated to everyone rebuilding after someone tried to break them. You are not too much. You never were. A final image, Amara on the Ghana construction site, laughing with workers, covered in dust, radiating joy. Living her truth. Building her legacy. Free. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they're enough exactly as they are. Drop a comment telling us about a time you reclaimed your power. Your story matters. And remember, your crown isn't too heavy. You're just finally strong enough to wear it.